Secret of Dragon Force explained. Now, do we know that Dragon Force, it's an amazing technique that's only exclusive to Dragon Slayers, and we know that, hell, it's even more exclusive to only first and third generations. And we know that Dragon Force is basically an ability for Dragon Slayers that make them become humanoid dragons. I think that's really cool because they're basically like, they're becoming dragons at that point, but except a humanoid form. But at the same time, they're not becoming dragons, if that makes any sense. But throughout the series, we've only really been seeing Natsu get the Dragon Force upgrades. I mean, they weren't naturally, but we saw back in the Tower of Heaven arc when he ate the Ethereum and then he used Dragon Force for the first time. That will be a forever iconic moment. The pose, the look, the scales, everything. I mean, at that point, Natsu, he was just a beast. I mean, that was the first time we really seen him use Dragon Force. The next time is when he ate the Flame of Rebuke, and then he basically got another Dragon Force from eating the flames. And at that point, he looked similar to the one that he got back in the Tower of Heaven arc. So I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a dope pose and everything, but it's not like something like, you know, as iconic as the first time you use it, but it was still cool. And the last time that we see Natsu use it, and the most recent time, is the natural Dragon Force, which is my favorite because he looks like a beast. He looks so cool. He has the dragon scales, everything. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing how he uses his. Now, the next one we'll talk about are the third generation Dragon Slayers, Sting and Rogue. I know they get a lot of hate, but they were actually the next people who we seen with Dragon Force. And I mean, their Dragon Force, to me personally, it actually looks very different. It looks very cool because what they have, they basically get markings. They don't get scales like we saw how Natsu did. So I found that really cool and interesting. Maybe those markings are their scales because we know that their dragons, they were very special. I mean, their dragons were light and dark, so maybe those are light and dark scales. But I know a lot of people that don't like Sting and Rogue's Dragon Force because they ended up getting shit and all by Natsu. I mean, that was just, I'm not gonna lie, that was disrespectful how Natsu just manhandled them. But yeah, they still used their Dragon Force next. And the next person who used her Dragon Force was Wendy. Now we know that she got hers in her fight versus Ezel, and that was one of the greatest moments because she had her back up against the wall and then she was forced to absorb the Eternal around after the face was about to be activated. And then we see something completely new. She gets like a whole new look, the pink hair, the long, like she was just looking epic. And I mean, that me personally, that has one of my favorite Dragon Force design because it's more of like a transformation at that point, you know what I'm saying? Like it actually felt like I was witnessing like Super Saiyan or something. Don't get me wrong, Natsu's was cool and all, but he didn't get a full-on transformation to like natural Dragon Force. So that's one thing. Wendy's Dragon Force was dope and I loved it. Now, anime onlys, you guys might not know about this, but Gajio actually did finally obtain Dragon Force. I know there's been a lot of misconceptions about him having Dragon Force because people, they would think that when he turned his body into iron, that was Dragon Force, or they think that Iron Shadow Dragon Mode was Dragon Force. But no, those were not Dragon Forces. Those were just transformations. Dragon Force, he actually gained it, his Iron Dragon Force, in one of the recent arcs. So I'm not going to go too into detail, but yeah, let's just say our boy finally made it. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions that I've been seeing in my comment section and just everywhere in general is that Laxus has a Dragon Force, and that is wrong. He does not have a Dragon Force. A lot of people think that he has Dragon Force because back in the fight versus him and Natsu, after he used his Lightning Dragon Roar, he basically had scales on, and to be honest, that was not a Dragon Force. Look at it similar to how, like I just say, Gajio on his Iron mode, he may get scales or something, but that's not a Dragon Force because he's not becoming a dragon at that, or he's not becoming a humanoid dragon at that point. All it was is that Laxer just outraged. He gained a huge boost of magic, but like I said, it's not a Dragon Force. It's basically like a little transformation similar to Gajio. So yeah, Laxus and the other second generations, they cannot use Dragon Force. But at this point, a lot of people have been wondering, what is the secret of Dragon Force? Well, the secret is that Dragon Force, it was meant to become something greater. And what do I mean by that? I believe that Dragon Force, it is only a stepping stone for the Dragon Slayers. Now, we know that Acnologia, he's a human that's able to turn into a dragon because he no longer has his dragon inside of him, and his dragon couldn't prevent the antibodies from turning him into a dragon. So that's why he became a dragon. And on top of that, We know that he also killed a bunch of dragons and bathed in their blood, but the thing about Dragon Force is that it's supposed to be a humanoid dragon form. I believe that Dragon Force, it's the step before you actually turn into your dragon. That's why I believe that Acne Loki, he never really uses a Dragon Force, because he can already turn to a dragon. So what's the use of him actually coming out here and using a form that makes him become dragon like when he actually can become a dragon? So this might sound a little bit messed up, but like Dragon Force is like a cheap, like it's like a knockoff to become an actual dragon. If you were a true, I don't want to say true dragon slayer, but if you were I don't even know what word to use to describe Acne Loki. If you were a special dragon slayer like Acne Loki, then you would turn into a dragon.